Today, we're going to talk about how to move fast with your no-code app in 2021. We all know 2020 has been difficult to say the least, but we're right around the corner from a new year, and I want to talk about how you can start doing things now and as you move into 2021 to move really quickly with your app and your app-based business. Now, make sure you stick around until the end because each of these things is going to be really important and could be pivotal in you seeing success with your app in this next year. Now, first, if you're new around here, my name is Kristen, and I'm the co-founder of Coaching No Code Apps, where we help business owners and industry experts build custom apps to either start their app-based businesses or grow their existing businesses, all without coding and with no technical background required. So we're going to go over 5 things that are really practical that you can start doing right now to move quickly with your app over these next months. So the first thing is I want you to decide on which app idea to pursue if you have multiple app ideas. If you are an entrepreneur, then you likely have lots of really good ideas. But I want you to try not to waffle back and forth between different ideas as you move forward. We see a lot of people starting to build one app idea and then deciding to switch to another and then maybe switching back. And they just can't decide what they really want to commit to. And what that tells me is that you don't have a really specific reason as to why you're building either app in the first place. So if you have multiple app ideas, you need to decide on one and then stick to it so that you can build really quick and consistent traction with that app. So how do you decide which one to build? Well, you can think about a few things to help guide you. So the first one is which app idea has the highest demand? Which target market that this app idea would apply to is in most need of a solution like that? And on top of that, which target market is going to be more likely to pay for that solution? The other thing you can look at is the level of severity of the problem your app will be solving. Is there a severe level of need for this solution? Is the problem you're solving significantly impacting your target market's lives, their businesses? How high is that? Obviously, the higher, the better. And what I mean by that is the more need there will be for your app. So the better your solution will help people who have a problem that's really severe. And on top of that, on top of looking at how much the solution is needed, you also want to look at your own connections to that target market. Do you have an app you're thinking about building where you have easy connections to potential users, people who you can reach out to and bring on board as test users, as beta users really early on without having to do a ton of marketing work? Remember, we're looking at how to move quickly, how to build traction early, and then how to keep building momentum from there. So we want to look at these key indicators to show us which app idea is going to be the best to pursue in the immediate. Now, once you decide on that, again, stick with it. As long as you have made the decision logically, then stick with it so you can actually see it through. But remember, if you can't figure out which app idea to build first and you're just kind of switching back and forth, then chances are you haven't figured out the reason why you should really be building either in the first place. So that would be the first thing I would tell you to do. Now, the second thing is to make sure that when you have that app that you have decided to build, make sure you're prioritizing the right user type when you start to build it. Now, this might not be applicable to you because your app might not have multiple user types, but lots of apps do. And what usually happens is people try to build their app for every single user type to the same extent. But in reality, most apps have a user type that is of higher priority than the others. So if you think about two-sided apps, for example, one user type is probably going to be using the app every single day, or at least more frequently than the other, one user type is probably going to be relying or depending on the app at a higher level than another user type might be. Maybe they're using the app to run their business. Maybe they're using the app to make money or something like that. Usually, there's a user type that should be given a higher priority. Now, when you build the app for them, when you build that first version for them, obviously you're building the app as a whole for all user types. But when you prioritize the right user from the start and you focus that first version on them, that means that you can launch sooner and you can build traction more quickly because you can start getting the most valuable feedback for your app really early on. So that's a really practical thing you can do to move quickly. Just make sure you're prioritizing the right user from the start. Now, the next thing is make sure that if you're going to be using any third-party services or APIs that are core to your application, make sure you figure those out early. So again, if any feature or functionality is going to require a third-party service, make sure you've identified the one you want to use, make sure that it's going to work for you. And if you're going to be using an API, some services are going to require you to apply for access to that API. Now, this might not be the case for you, but it's worth checking because you want to do that early to make sure that you can, in fact, use the API that you need so that you don't run into any roadblocks or hiccups down the road that are going to hold you back and delay you. So make sure you look into that early. And then the next thing is make sure you know which features and which functionalities should go into the first version of your app. This is where a lot of people see the most extensive delays with their development and with their launch. They don't really know what should go into the first version of their app. And so instead, they kind of just build everything at once, or they just build what's easiest to start with, or they just build what's most interesting to them in the moment. But you really need to have a plan for what should go into that first version of your application. Because if you can identify exactly which features are core to the app, then you can launch with those alone so that, again, you can build really quick traction really early on. Now, this can be a soft launch. You don't have to do a really hard launch where you generate a ton of buzz. When you're just launching this first version, it can be a softer launch where you launch to your beta testers, for example. But you don't need to have this really massive, robust first version of your app. If you start smaller and you strategically identify what you should launch with first to those first test users, those first beta users, you are going to be able to move so much more quickly with your app because you'll be getting hands and eyes on it really early on. You'll be getting that feedback that you need really early on. And that's what's going to help you evolve the app from there. That's what's most valuable for you. And to build on that, the last thing that I want you to do is make sure you're prioritizing feedback at the start versus money. Okay, now what I mean by that is your most immediate goal when you are launching this first version of your app, it's not to make a ton of money. Yes, you want to turn this into a business, and likely you want this to sustain you, to sustain your lifestyle. Yes, you want that. But right now, the most immediate thing you need to be focusing on is getting feedback from your users versus just getting them to pay you right from the start. Because the reality is, if you get the feedback and if you implement the feedback, then the money will follow. But if the only thing you focus on right from the start is just getting your users to pay you, then your initial conversion rates are really going to struggle. Your retention rates are going to struggle, and you're going to have a hard time building traction. This is a really hard thing for a lot of people to kind of move forward with because in their minds, it makes them feel like They're not focusing on turning the app into a business or scaling it as a business. But that's not the case. I'm not telling you not to monetize the app. That will come, but it will come a lot more easily if your first priority is to get feedback from your users and then to implement that feedback and evolve the app for them. The money will follow much, much, much more easily if you do that first. All right. I hope this is helpful for you. These are 5 really practical things you can start doing right now and as we move into 2021 to move really quickly with your app and with your app-based business. Now, if you're just starting out with your app, or if you have started, but you aren't quite sure whether you're moving forward in the right direction, we have a free training you can join in on where we walk you through our step-by-step process for strategically getting started with your application. We'll go into some technical components as well so that you can make sure, again, you're moving forward quickly, you're moving forward efficiently, and that you're doing the right things at the right time. That's going to help you so much with your app. So if you want to join in on that, you can head to coachingnocodeapps.com/workshop. All right, again, I hope this is helpful for you. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.